Good day, everyone. My name is Joe Wetstead. I'm the Director of Client Success for accesso ShoWare. I want to thank you for joining us for our webinar. Today's webinar will introduce or familiarize you with our fund development module in accesso ShoWare. I'm joined in presenting to you today by Melissa Allnut. Missy is a sales engineer joining us from Liverpool, New York. Today's webinar will provide you with an understanding of accesso ShoWare's fund management module and how it relates specifically to donations. We will also review some interesting statistics on giving and update you on Roundup for Charity statistics, specifically through accesso ShoWare. If you have questions during the webinar, please use the question box in your GoToMeeting console, and our webinar organizer, Val, will collect them. We will address all questions following the presentation. So let's get started. At accesso, we believe technology has the power to redefine the guest experience. Everything we do starts with thinking about the guest experience first, which allows us to help simplify operations, improve guest satisfaction, and really drive growth for our clients. Our product team is always looking for ways to help you build loyal customers, as well as help your organization achieve its fundraising goals. When a patron gives to your organization, it's the highest compliment that they believe in your vision, in what you stand for, and even if they only give 50 cents, it's a start to developing that patron into a larger donor. I would contend that someone who gives even 50 cents is a better target for future giving than someone who gives nothing at all. So let's set the stage for giving. According to the National Association of Charitable Statistics, 72% of all contributions come from individuals. And Charity Navigator, a national charity evaluator, found that 69% of Americans donate to charity. The main takeaway here is a lot of people have the propensity to give. And if you don't ask, you don't get. Roundup donations and fund management module is a great way to get people started with giving. According to NP Engage, online giving is growing. In fact, 7.3% of all giving is happening online, and that's nearly an 8% increase year over year. And another thing to keep in mind is that giving online means many people are using a mobile device. 17% of online donation transactions were made via mobile, and that's a 21% increase year over year. A responsive design that makes giving via mobile seamless and easy needs to be part of your online giving strategy. And I'll say that with ShoWare's fund management module, we do check the box there for sure. So let's take a look at Roundup donations. In 2015, the Cause Marketing Forum released their findings from a study of 77 organizations, bringing in over 1 million annually. They found that 7 in 10 people surveyed are willing to donate to charity at checkout, and 55% enjoy donating at checkout. This study also analyzed the percentage of people who donate at a certain level, which we'll cover in the next slide. On this chart, you can see the percentage of people donating at certain dollar amounts. This is where it really gets interesting. People likely assume that when asked to donate, customers will give the minimum amount. Let's say you have 100 people willing to round up for charity. With this basic assumption, you might expect to make anywhere between $25 to $75 and maybe close to 100 if you were lucky. But research actually shows people are much more generous than that. The most common donation amount is actually between $1 and $2, and 34% donate $2 or more. This means that statistically, for those 100 people you thought you might only get $100 from, if you're lucky, it will actually look more like 175, which is a conservative estimate, especially for what we're seeing in the ShoWare space or with our clients. We will talk about how our client stories stack up against this particular study later in the presentation, and the results are even more exciting. So what are the benefits for guests? There's many benefits. As we established, the average American enjoys donating to charity, and 71% of those surveyed are willing to donate at checkout. This provides an increased sense of community to your patrons, the ability to be part of a campaign and feel as if they're making a difference. Furthermore, 60% say they feel more positive about a retailer or venue after donating. The accesso ShoWare donations process is simple and seamless. It allows for an ask at the time when your potential donors are already engaged with you. These could be people who have thought about donating to your cause in the past, but never had a convenient opportunity to do so. By reminding them at the point of purchase, you're doing these folks a favor. Remember, more than half of your patrons feel really good about donating. Finally, our roundup allows for donors to remain anonymous if they desire, which is not always an option in traditional giving campaigns. There are also organizational benefits. The accesso ShoWare Fund Management module gives you a vehicle to raise money for yourself or another organization. And don't underestimate the value of allowing other donations or doing roundup campaigns for other organizations, as that can build a great relationship with that other organization and build goodwill in the community. We also allow you to streamline and control the process. No third-party integrations. All the data is yours. Funds are deposited directly to you. Automated communication and reporting helps make it easy and seamless to your patrons and donors. The important takeaway here is patrons see a charge from your organization, not a third-party site collecting donations and remitting back to you. On third-party sites, patrons could also be distracted by third-party offers and other giving campaigns. And finally, you gain access to powerful patron data. Donations are fully integrated with your patron records, and it helps you identify your donor base and effectively communicate in the future. So let's take a look at our beta client for Roundup for Charity, Tarrytown Music Hall. We've gone back and revisited the Tarrytown story since inception with the product, and so we have some updates in a couple slides here. With the accesso ShoWare Fund Management module, there's two ways to collect donations. Through our donations module using funds and campaigns. Missy will provide a deeper dive on that later in the webinar, and through our Roundup for Charity. Tarrytown uses both features, but we'll be looking at their progress with Roundup data today. As you can see on the screen, this is what a typical roundup at checkout looks like. All messaging on the screen is fully customizable and allows you to talk to your customers in your voice, which we think is very important. When compared to the national average for roundup at checkout, Tarrytown outperformed the average size of donation, with 50% of donations being $5 or greater. As you'll see from the next slide, this is key to Tarrytown's success. We found that the Tarrytown model holds up pretty well for performing arts centers as a whole and related to roundup campaigns. As a contrast, we have some recent data from LA Zoo Lights. They sell about 230,000 tickets over 85 days around the holidays, and they added us this year, and they had Roundup for Charity turned on as they're a nonprofit for the LA Zoo, nonprofit arm of the LA Zoo. And the tickets were much less expensive than the average PAC ticket, and this resulted in the data being more in line with the national average that you're seeing in the gray on the right. So the type of venue or attraction and the ticket prices has a factor on how the Roundup donations scale. They still had a great success with the product, and I think they had a quite high, again with 230,000 tickets, but they had about 7% of their base of that base Roundup. Next one, see. So breaking down the numbers at Tarrytown, over the first 12 months, we can see they collected 1,915 Roundup donations online. And since inception, that's grown, and this is just a little over 2 years, they've had about 4,263 Roundup donations. This number represents about 10% of their overall online ticket purchasers that are rounding up. The average Roundup donation amount was $5.17 during the first year, and the average since inception is $4.63. And 91% of the revenue was for $5 or more in the first year, and holding pretty steady since inception at 88%. And then of the 1,900 that used Roundup at checkout, 365 people donated $10 or more, while 28 people donated $50 or more. And again, since inception, 638 people have given $10 or more, and 57 have given $50 or more. The Roundup campaigns are a great way to raise additional revenue at a very low cost to the organization because the entire process is automated from the ask through the thank you letter. Missy's going to walk us through this later in the live demo. There's really no additional labor required of the Tarrytown administrator once it's set up. There's no printing, mailing, postage, envelopes, and then when somebody donates, there's no, there's no configuring a tax letter and putting that in an envelope with a thank you letter and sending that out again. So it's really makes your giving very seamless and easy for the organization. Next one, Missy. We took a look at another of our PAC clients that recently added about a year's worth of data for Ridgefield Playhouse and their first year results. And the results as averages were consistent with what we've seen at Tarrytown, our beta client. A little bit different, but a lot of the key areas line up pretty well. The main takeaway here is there's consistency in the data, and people will round up by larger amounts than the national average would suggest, and especially in the PAC, in the performing arts space. So just to review the slide that you're all reading, 3,871 roundup donations in year one, average donation $3.30. 30% of the donations were for $5 or more, and then the key thing, and this is where they where things really line up, is 75% of the revenue was from donations of $5 or more. 522 people donated $10 or more, and 33 people donated $50 or more. So again, impressive results from this client who had just added this functionality about a year ago. And then, sorry, excuse me. Next one, Missy. Thank you. And then overall adoption of Roundup at checkout is very healthy across the accesso ShoWare client base, with 54 clients using the feature. Of those 54 clients, 51,000 patrons have rounded up, and across the base, the average Roundup donation is $2.32. Again, well outperforming the national average of around $1. And the total Roundup donations over the past 2 years is right at $120,000 in revenue. Remember that accesso ShoWare only charges you a fee on Roundup donations of $5 or greater. So that's my part of the presentation for the beginning, and at this point we're going to hand it off to Missy, and she's going to take us through a couple slides and then dive into the live demo. Missy.
Thank you, Joe. So before we go into the live demo, we want to talk a little bit about best practices to be able to help you drive those donations, especially for that online sale. So the donate button. The reason for the donate button is to help draw their attention to that ask. It's very important not to make your patrons search on how they can help your organization through donations. So if you can incorporate a donate now button somewhere that is easily noticeable by your patrons, that certainly will help. Telling the why. Always inform your patrons why you're asking for a donation. Provide campaign options. The more options, then the better chance you're going to have of your patrons connecting with one of those options or one of those different campaigns that you are looking to drive money towards. Help your patrons by guiding their amounts. And what I mean by this is provide a donation amount options. So instead of asking them to just determine what amount they want to provide or to give to you, provide several donation suggestions. And what we're finding is that patrons are likely to give more. So if you offer different suggestions, you can still offer the empty box, which says, provide your own number. But if you offer suggestions, the likelihood of them donating a little more is higher. It's important to monitor your results by continually running reports on your donors' habits, so that you can better cater to those preferences. Obviously, if you're finding that one of your campaigns is not doing very well and another one is, maybe it's time to switch things up. So always run those data reports, always collect that data and find out what your patrons are giving towards so that you can change up your campaigns according to their preferences. Always, always keep it secure. Don't push them to a third party. I know Joe mentioned this as well. The biggest reason is their drop-off rate. Potential drop-off rate increases if you push your patrons to a form or to another entity to provide that donation. Keep everything under the same roof, on the same site, by utilizing the tools in accesso ShoWare platform that provides you the ability, and then again, you're gathering all of that data. And last but not least, always say thank you. You also have the ability to be able to capitalize on some different touches after you've said that thank you. Within the email of the thank you, you have the ability to maybe send them an URL for other information. You could even ask them in that email to go out onto a social media platform and tell their friends why they love you, why they're a loyal patron to you, and why they always give to you. Because what that's going to do is increase the excitement within their group of friends and families, and possibly drive more donations to your organizations. Joe touched a little bit on the mobile. So obviously mobile-friendly donation functionality is essential. A recent report showed that about 80% of organizations surveyed were still not optimized. So again, always be optimized, because you never really know when your patron is wanting to give. It's not always going to be in front of their desktop or their laptop. It could be when they see your venue or see information about your venue and they grab their phone. And before we go into the demo, just a couple best practices for Roundup. And these are just things to think about as you're creating that Roundup campaign. First, as Joe said, you don't have to be a 501c3. You don't have to be that not-for-profit. If you are a for-profit organization, you can build relationships within your community and help them achieve their goals. So if you want, and you're a not-for-profit, and maybe you've got some sort of a campaign that you want to be able to use that Roundup donations for, that's awesome, but don't feel that the door closes on you for a for-profit organization, because helping others is wonderful opportunity for you within the Roundup functionality of our platform. And also think about optimizing your ticket price. At the end in the basket, which you'll see shortly, you're going to see the Roundup capability. If your basket, I should say, is $15.50, the likelihood of them pressing the Roundup to the next dollar, or that, for that next 50 cents, is probably going to be stronger than maybe if it was just a $15 price point. So just a couple of best practices to think of as you try and drive your patrons to donating via online. So let's go to the live demo. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at the back side, or the administrative side of the solution first, kind of talk about the pieces and parts and what it takes to create those funds and campaigns, and to be able to incorporate Roundup for those online sales. So over on my toolbar, we've got fund development, and by clicking on that, it will just present us with all the different entities to be able to create those campaigns. Donation settings. So first and foremost, it's important, as we've said, optimize site and allowing those donations to go on site. So it's important to toggle on the online donations. If you don't toggle it on, you won't have that opportunity. Your default campaign. It can be anything. So I have mine as the Roundup campaign, but you can default a campaign so that when a new patron is creating a new profile, it might ask them to give to this particular campaign. Again, asking for the donation on the public site, as well as providing a Roundup amount option. So toggling all of these entities on just increases your chance of visibility for the patrons when they are on your site, potentially buying tickets and seeing an opportunity to be able to help you out through donations. Donation search. I always look at this as just another report, because it gives you the opportunity based on criteria that's important to you to run a report and then dump it off into Excel, where you have the ability to upload it into a mail merge project, or even just slice and dice based on what you need to see. And again, this is just right down to all of your donors. So if you just want to look at a particular donor, you have the ability to do so. If you want to use specific criteria by maybe donation date, I want to see everybody that donated this past year gave me a minimum amount of, we'll say 50 cents, we'll call it the roundup portion, to $1. And then maybe there's some sort of a special appeal or a special campaign to try and capture those patrons through another campaign to be able to have them move up that loyalty pipeline and be able to become a bigger donor with you. Joe touched on this a little bit, and that's customization. The accesso ShoWare platform allows you to pretty much customize every piece of message that your patron sees during that donation portion of that online or the e-commerce side. So what you're doing is you're presenting your words, your appeals, your information to be able to grab their attention and be able to, incite them to be able to and give to whatever particular campaign. So all of these different fields have the ability to be able to incorporate special or specific messaging just for your organization. So no cookie cutters with us. The fourth tab is funds. What the fund is the overarching umbrella of your campaigns. So you can have multiple campaigns under a fund, or you can have a 1-for-1 ratio, a campaign to a fund. In my world, we've got Build Something Great with Us, and that is our fund. In opening it up, it's just giving us the ability to set up the general information about this fund with a description, as well as contact information, and also the ability to incorporate an image if you want to. Once the fund has been created, then you're creating the campaigns underneath the fund. In my case, I have a new seat campaign as well as a Raise the Roof campaign. So if I click on New Seat Campaign, I have now at the campaign level more information that I need to provide. So my general information is going to be obviously my campaign name that connects to the overarching fund. Active date range. So you might have shorter campaigns. Maybe my seat campaign is only a 6-month campaign because we're trying to raise those funds early because we need to go to our vendor to be able to purchase those seats. So you have the ability to do all time or a campaign that spans all year, every year, or a specific time frame. And again, it's important. Yes, we want donations to be allowed via online, and that yes, it is featured. You got the ability for both a short description as well as a long description. Under our amounts tab, we talked a little bit about options, giving your patrons options or suggested donation amounts. And this can vary from campaign to campaign. So maybe under my seat campaign, because it's a smaller amount of money that we're trying to raise versus the roof campaign, maybe my preset amounts are a little lower than the roof campaign. And again, what you're doing is you're trying to get your patrons engaged. You're trying to get them to connect to one of these campaigns that you have to provide that donation. And of course, I'm going to allow them to be able to do a custom amount as well, because why not? If they've got the generosity to give me 250, why would I want to only allow 100? So back to best practices again, the thank you email. This is an automatic email. So once you set it up, you can forget it. All you need to do is click on your send thank you email. So anytime a donation is placed for this particular campaign, your patron is going to get that email. We've got a lot of different tokens that you can incorporate to personalize the email, including that fund tax ID number, so that all they have to do is print out this email and bring it to their accountant at tax time and be able to utilize this versus calling you and asking for another letter. So that's how you would set it up within fund development. Now, also on the administrative side, since we're here, let's just take a couple minutes and talk a little bit about the reporting aspect of things. Underneath reporting, there's a lot of different reporting, but you're going to see that underneath patron report is kind of like your values, who your patrons are to you. The patron value report will help you understand the loyalty that patron or multiple patrons have to you. This patron value report will give you everything you want to know about them, right down to name, address, phone number, as well as the donations, how many donations they've given you, and the donation amount. And it also can be dumped out into Excel, so then maybe you've got another special campaign that you want to be able to thank special or a certain level of patrons that donated for a certain amount of money. So always remember that you've got the patron value report under the patron section of reporting. Otherwise, you would go to the donations portion, and you've got your 4 basic reports, but this will give you everything that you need to know about specific campaigns or reconciliation reports, or who has donated to specific reports. So now that we've looked at the back side of things, let's look at the e-commerce side and what everything looks like for that e-commerce patron or that online patron. First and foremost, donate now. So we said, make that button available, make it big, do whatever you need to drive the donation. And as I said before, also don't push them off into a third-party site. Keep it within the same, within your accesso ShoWare platform, so that you are gathering all that patron data under one roof. If I click on donate now, you're going to see this is my fund, and this is the fund that we talked about on the back side. Again, all of these words are yours, so all of this information up at the top here is one of the messages that you have the ability to be able to customize based on what you want to say to your patrons when they land on the donate page. I can donate from here, and what it's going to do is present me those 2 campaigns that live within this fund. The actual fund messaging moves forward. You're going to see my new seat campaign as well as my raise the roof campaign. Again, you can incorporate images if you want to or not. Since we talked about the new seat campaign, let's go ahead and we'll donate to that. And you're going to see these preset suggestions that we set up on the back end. And then you're also going to see that we also offer the ability for your patron to choose their own amount. Again, on the back end, you have the ability to be able to set up a minimum amount. So, in my case, I've got a minimum. You also have the ability to set up a maximum amount if you choose to do so. You have the ability through a straight donation to be able to enter in a donate on behalf of name. So if you want to have the ability, you can donate on the behalf of anybody. So maybe we're going to do Joe. I can spell his name right. Or you have the ability to donate anonymously, and this is truly anonymous. The reports on the back end will not show your name or your patron's name if they're clicking on donate anonymously. So Joe's I'm gonna give $15 on behalf of Joe, and we'll go ahead and we'll just add this donation to the basket. So I've got my donation in my basket. It's giving me all the particular information, and I'll just go ahead and I'll just finalize my sale. Obviously, it's a donation, so no delivery method is required. We'll go ahead and we'll enter in our payment method, and then we'll go ahead and we'll complete our order. Now, one thing I want to mention here is we talked a little bit about Roundup, which I will show you next, but this was the straight donation, and at the checkout is where you would see Roundup. But in the case when I have a donation in my basket to a campaign, it's not going to show me the Roundup. In a scenario of tickets in a basket without the donation, it will definitely show me the Roundup. So what we're trying to get to here is that you don't want to double dip your patrons, as they are being already very generous in donating to a specific campaign. So my order has been placed. I will automatically, if we set up the email campaign or the email letter campaign, I would automatically get that thank you email that, again, utilizing the tokens you can customize. So let's go about the Roundup donation a little differently, and we'll just go through a typical ticket sale. So let's go buy some Phantom of the Opera tickets. And I'll just throw a couple really quickly in my basket. I've got my 2 tickets in my basket. I'll just proceed to check out. And what we're doing is just going through the streamlined checkout again, but to be able to show you the Roundup side of things and where that plays a part. Tickets in the basket. So we're going to have to pick a delivery method, a payment method, and then we'll complete our order. But now what it's done is it's invoked the Roundup. And the reason it invoked the Roundup is because A, I set it up on the back end saying that I definitely want to use Roundup donations. B, I don't have another campaign donation within my basket. So it's asking me to round up to the nearest dollar, or again, the suggested amounts. So I can add $2 to my order. On the right-hand side is my shopping cart. It's going to show you my 2 tickets. It's going to show you a Roundup feature. And I can't stress it enough. If you're a for-profit organization, you can utilize this to be able to create those relationships within your community and help other organizations reach their goal. We'll finalize the sale and place our order. And even with a Roundup donation, because it is a campaign that's been set up on the back end, you'll still get that thank you letter for the $2. And one step further, if you're utilizing the Roundup capability to help another organization, you can use the back end reporting to create reports of any Roundup donation and provide that organization not only with the donations, but with a list of those patrons that have given so that they can also turn around and thank them. So having gone through the donation side of things, we're going to drop it back to Joe and finalize the webinar. But before we do, it's always just remember that a successful fundraising effort is always based on those strong relationships. And the only way you're going to get those strong relationships is through cultivation and management of your patrons and knowing who they are and driving the relationship and driving the donations to things that are important to them. So with that, I will go back to the live demo and turn it back over to Joe.
Thanks, Missy. Great job. And during today's webinar, we covered a lot of ground, and I hope you were able to walk away with a better understanding of how we can help you execute your unique fundraising strategies in the accesso ShoWare platform. I encourage you to reach out to your customer service manager if you have questions on how to implement fund development strategies for your venue. At the end of the day, we are your partner, and we only succeed when you succeed. Innovations is at the heart of the entire accesso product line. Our aggressive development cycle allows us to deploy regular updates and enhancements to our systems. We've highlighted today some of the features specifically developed for fund management related activities, and have also recently released integrated email marketing, a redesign of the front end and back end of ShoWare, streamlined checkout, enhanced mobile features, dynamic pricing, auto applied coupon pricing, and I'm sure you've seen the new feature alerts that have also been deployed recently. I also want to make sure and mention that there's always a lot going on behind the scenes to make sure your data is safe, secure, and in compliance. At accesso, we're not just a team of programmers or web developers who happen to cater to venues. We are attraction, live entertainment, and cultural arts executives, marketers, operators, and developers who have experience in world-class solutions to address specific needs of your industry, and we're very interested in helping you reach your goals. At this time, we'd like to open the floor up to any questions. Val, do we have any questions that have been submitted?
Thanks, Joe. Yes, we do. So our first question is, are there any additional fees associated with using these features?
So as I mentioned earlier, for Roundup donations, we don't charge for any donation that's less than $5, there's only a charge for donations of $5 and more, and that's just based on the contracted fee that we have, and that's the same for donation campaigns. So whatever's been negotiated there, and happy to look at what your campaign looks like and work with you in regards to pricing strategies and what makes sense. So there is a charge for most donations.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is, how many campaigns can I run at the same time?
I'll grab this one, Joe.
Okay.
I mean, technically, there is no limit. You can have as many campaigns that you want to build because it is your site, it is your database, and you can create as many. I guess I would caution you that manage the campaign amounts that would be palatable to your patrons, especially during that online sale. Maybe the last thing you want to do is offer them 50 campaigns to choose from. So just kind of keeping that in mind. But to answer your question, absolutely, you can have as many campaigns built in the system that you want.
Right, and the messaging, again, super important there. I think that, rather than just having a general fundraising campaign, specific campaigns that, so we need a new light board, and we need to, raise money for a new light board, or we need to raise money to provide scholarships for 6 kids to participate in the summer program, and general campaigns are fine as well, but the more specific you make them really gets that donor. You find their hot button and what gets them in touch with giving. So there we go.
Wonderful, thank you. And our last question today is, if I'm using the donations module, do I have to use Roundup for a cause?
Answer's no, Missy.
Exactly. No, either or both, I guess is the most simplistic way to say it. But then I guess it goes back to, why wouldn't you just, throw it all and do everything within the one system? But no, if you wanted to just do Roundup because you're doing something different for campaigns, absolutely have the ability to be able to do that as well.
Yep, you can use one, the other, or both, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Val, anything else?
That's all our questions today.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for your time in attending today's webinar. You'll receive an email tomorrow with a link to access the webinar recording. We'd also like to invite you to our next webinar on June 15th, where we will cover accesso ShoWare functionality for live entertainment and specifically sports teams. We want to thank everyone again, and great luck with your fundraising goals, and have a great day.